been just 48 hours since Republicans suffered pretty humiliating, crushing defeats in elections literally all across the country. And when any White House experiences a humiliating defeat, and believe me, I've been part of those, the instinct is often, most of the time, to change the subject. I mean, roll out a new policy, hold a big event, make any announcement of any kind, basically to get people to talk about anything other than the absolute shellacking that you just took at the polls. But apparently the announcement this White House settled on today didn't even really seem to keep the President of the United States awake.
Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms. But I don't measure it in pounds. I measure it in saved lives. People can sleep again because they can breathe as when they go to bed. Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks, renal failure, dementia, all the things we know are associated with obesity and much more.
I don't know if you just saw Donald Trump like on the side of the screen there. We maybe should have done like a big red circle or something there, but I'm sure you saw it. I mean, that was him in the White House today, basically appearing to nod off while his Surgeon General talked about, of all things, really, dementia, obesity, and sleep loss. I mean, it kind of feels a little too on the nose, doesn't it? Let's just go back for a second to what Dr. Oz was saying there before the president started to lose interest.
Mr. President, our estimate, based on the company numbers as well, is Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms.
That didn't catch his interest either. But yes, you heard it. Dr. Oz is promising that Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms. That's a lot of pounds in a short period of time. Look, I'm not an expert on weight loss, I'm not even a mathematician, but I do know there are about 340 million people in the United States. So for this country to collectively lose 135 billion pounds, that would mean that every American would have to lose an average of 397 pounds each. And that would be big news because it's basically impossible. Okay, so this event was extremely weird to begin with, and then this happened.
For nearly 150 years, my company, Eli Lilly, has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, oh, are you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah.
Now, that was the moment today when a guest at that event, who was reportedly a weight loss drug patient, collapsed. Now, that kind of thing does happen at White House events from time to time. People are standing for a long time. Sometimes it's hot. And the man is reportedly okay, which is definitely very good news. But what was notable this time was how the president just kind of awkwardly stood there, stared at him as after it happened. That's what he did kind of the whole time. I mean, did he understand what had happened? Did he not care? Was he happy to just stand by as things were literally collapsing around him? The metaphors are kind of too long to list here, but that event gave us a lot to work with. But that is definitely how Trump appears to be coping with this week's election losses, just sort of spacing out as his party collapses. And to be fair, I mean, everyone is coping, I guess, in their own way.
Republicans have decided to kick people while they're down. So if you are on the marketplace, if that's where you get your health care, then that tax subsidy is set to expire at the same time that they made the tax cuts permanent for those at the top. And they have decided they don't want to talk about giving them subsidies. So while your insurance may go from, say, $200 a month to, say, $1,000 a month, but if you are on the marketplace, you are going to get, say, $250 credit a month. Now they're saying, we also want to take that away.
I hear affordability to what you're talking about, which was the precise message in the mayoral election and a lot of Tuesday nights victories for Democrats. Do you see that as instructive of what will happen for the midterms?
I do. If we keep it up and we make sure that people understand. Right now, we know that the Supreme Court is looking at whether or not they are going to overturn the tariffs. That, in my opinion, there is no question about the fact that they have been illegally inflicted upon all of us. These tariffs have been one of the many reasons that our lives are more unaffordable. So what I don't want to happen is once and if the Supreme Court decides to save Donald Trump from himself and things maybe reduce in cost, that people say, well, everything's going well, and they don't fully understand. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. If it was up to him, you still would be suffering. He still would be telling you maybe you won't have 10 baby dolls, but instead 2 for Christmas. He would still be looking at you crazy every time you're like, well, Mr. President, Canada is our friend, or Mexico is our friend. So why is it that you're making it more difficult? Why is it that we are not going to have the great trade partners, even when you're in Texas? Our biggest trade partner is Mexico. So I want to make sure that we communicate. If there is any kind of relief that comes because of tariffs, that it was the Supreme Court. And y'all know I don't love the Supreme Court. So, I mean, if I'm giving credit there, then that means they deserve the credit.
Well, talking about communication in the form of advice you would give to Mayor-elect Mamdani, you've been at the receiving end of a great deal of criticism, a lot of visceral reactions and vile rhetoric thrown your way. He receives a great deal of it. What is your advice to Mamdani?
Listen, I don't know that he needs my advice. He has been a master. And frankly, he could do a master class for all Democrats on communication, whether you're talking about speaking with passion and heart and just talking to the working class, not worried about the billionaires. They're going to be fine. In fact, the better that the working class does, the better they do. That means that they've got the employees that they need to make the profits that they need. And ultimately, we are the ones that spend the money. I don't think he needs me. What I think is that our party needs to learn from Mamdani. They need to learn about organizing people on all levels. They need to learn to talk to everyone and not just those double Ds or triple Ds, which are the people that always come out. They need to not necessarily give up on anybody. They need to go to places that they aren't used to seeing Democrats. Like one of the things that I did on the presidential is I kept telling them, send me to rural America. I have things that I need to say. I lived in East Texas and I understand it.
Will you use that advice possibly for a run for the Senate?
We're still evaluating that. But yeah, I think that it is about expanding the electorate and making sure that people know, especially as Texans, number one, that I'm Texas tough and that ultimately my priority will be Texans, whether you are in rural Texas or urban Texas. People need to understand that we have more in common than divides us. And that is exactly what I would hope to do, is to bridge that gap.
Donald Trump's White House is in full panic mode right now, and it shows. Carolyn Leavitt, his press secretary, has completely lost it online, spiraling on Twitter after yet another disastrous week for Trump. For days, she's been yelling about the so-called Democrat shutdown. But when it comes to explaining why Trump can't seem to keep himself from mentally shutting down, in front of cameras, total silence. Trump had one of his worst days yet. During a public event, while his Surgeon General spoke about dementia, obesity, and sleep issues, Trump literally appeared to nod off yes during a speech about dementia. You couldn't script irony better if you tried. Then, things got weirder. A guest suddenly collapsed mid-event, and Trump just stood there, staring blankly. No reaction, no concern, just that glazed-over look we've all seen before. It was the perfect metaphor for his presidency right now, everything collapsing around him while he's completely checked out. Meanwhile, Republicans are still reeling from brutal election losses across the country. Normally, any White House would try to shift focus, new policy, new message, anything. Instead, Trump's team rolled out a bizarre claim that Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms. Do the math, that would mean every American dropping nearly 400 pounds. It's absurd, and yet somehow on brand. Now, let's talk about Carolyn Leavitt's meltdown. She jumped on Twitter screaming about Democrats keeping the government shut down for political gain, tried to paint Trump as a foreign policy genius, and even bragged that Thanksgiving dinner would be $7 cheaper this year, conveniently leaving out that food portions are smaller and inflation is still up. Here's the truth. Trump's policies are driving up healthcare costs and gutting food assistance for millions. He's not battling inflation, he's just shrinking the portions and calling it a win. Classic Trump math. And Republicans know it. They see the writing on the wall. Trump's popularity is tanking, his grip is slipping, and even his own allies are getting tired of cleaning up his messes. As Democratic Rep. Jasmine Crockett said recently, Republicans are kicking people while they're down, cutting healthcare subsidies, making life more expensive for working Americans, all while pretending it's someone else's fault. But Tuesday's election results showed something powerful. When Democrats fight, really fight, people show up. Candidates like Zohran Mamdani and Gavin Newsom prove that courage and conviction still win votes. Voters want leaders who actually stand for something, not just tweet about it. So, as Trump dozes through another crisis and his team scrambles to spin the chaos, here's the takeaway. Democrats can win if they stay bold, stay united, and refuse to cave. The American people have their back. They just need to see that same fire in return. If you made it this far, you're the reason we keep fighting. Drop A in the comments and hit subscribe because this next year is going to be one hell of a ride.